it was a Neon solo episode of a fun little romp around club. And everything was fine. Nothing noteworthy really happened. Neon had a great time.
Yep.
Is there anything else that y'all wanted to recap?
No, that's it. We're good.
Perfect.
We met two new good boys. A good boy and a good girl.
Damn it! Fucking I can't look at my notes. Hold on.
What are you talking about? You can't look at your notes. Your notes.
Because my freaking stream.
We're not paying attention to your stream until you bring attention to it. We're looking at the Roll20.
Well, now you're paying attention to it.
You have a GIF that I just
keeps
constantly
on
stare
giving.
at. Yeah.
A GIF that keeps on giffing. I'm funny.
A GIF that keeps on jiffing.
Stop.
We acquired two new NPCs that may or may not come back for Neon now.
You finally met them. You met the infamous pair. Well, not pair, but internet soft, kind of low tier internet celebs that were Rude Boy Toy and Beg for More. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So, where the fuck? Where are my notes at?
That knowing us, we're totally not going to be like, oh yeah, what's happening to them whenever we get bored?
Please don't.
Open up my fucking Instagram real quick. What's going on?
That's what Chronically Online is for.
Yeah, you say please don't, but now you've made them as part of Neon's cover identity, so they have to be.
Yeah.
God damn it. Well.
And then found out that what's his face is truly gone off the deep end. A step away from crack him a little too hard one more time, and he's probably going to start killing people. It's a problem.
Too much Kool-Aid.
Too much Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He is fucking skipped stirring it in the water and just started snorting the powder. And that's Dio, for those of you paying attention at home. Dio, the revitalized TV show, talk show host, and ex-podcaster.
I wonder what happened to his podcast. Go back to episode 1, listeners.
So, this is all a series of events that are nested within the first 2-week period. Basically, there was a month wait before a shipment was coming from Earth to the station. Neon got a tip from a friend of a friend, and the tip basically amounted to this. There is a Tetsuo shipment that is supposed to come from Earth to the station. And once it gets to the station, it's going to be kind of swallowed by the noise. And the hope is that they don't have to draw an armored convoy to draw suspicion. But that has tipped you off to some interest. There might be some nefarious shit that you could discover. More nefarious shit that you could discover from whatever is in this supposed shipment. And that being a month away, you've had 4 weeks to prepare. So within the first 2 weeks, Legacy has made some viruses and prepared, decoded some hard drives. Lockhart has spent that chunk of time reviewing a bunch of documents, which you have detailed in a side thing. You've also had Ben Getty working on some things in the background, also decoding some documents, helping Marcus with something. Speaking of, Marcus has been training with Lockhart for a few, and now a little bit over 2 weeks. And then, of course, Neon did reconnaissance, got information, got cool hair, and then did this little infiltration into Dio's inner circle, which turns out it's just Dio. It turns out it's only him, and he's kind of having a little lost it. He's just gone. He's a little bit gone.
Putting it lightly.
There you go.
So, after that, we move to the next 2-week period. At this point, unless anyone has anything else they want to deviate from, I will go down my list here of things that y'all would have finished right up till about basically like 1 to 2 days before the shipment is supposed to come in. We have Legacy finishing the last of her virus software. Kaya would have finished making both the bracelets, Neon's drone would be completed, and she would have given very basic writing lessons to Lockhart. Lockhart would have sifted through all of the data and trained Marcus to the point where Marcus is now proficient in combat. He's a competent fighter. Neon would have done the same for Kaneko, so Kaneko would be a proficient fighter, and you would also get a little bit more information from your various sources, basically anyone who's been in close proximity to JJ. That's his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's your other like info gathering guy. So you would have a little bit more information, possibly about the shipment, possibly about other things. It depends. And the rest of the people on this list are NPCs, and you don't need to know what they're doing because they're doing their thing.
Oh, add that she also finished her blink upgrade as well as the virus.
Yes, the viruses and the blink upgrade. Nice. Cool. So unless there is a deviation from that, I have a few places to pick up before we get to the part where it's like, okay, you have time to plan for the heist in character. I have on the docket a little bit for Kaya, I have a little bit for Lockhart, and I will have a little bit for all of you, whoever wants to be involved in it, to have the chance to meet and discuss the findings that Lockhart has gone over from the Hex Project.
And the thing that Neon figured out last session.
Yeah, we have
If is good. But yes, there's also that. So I would like to open up with Kaya, if that's okay. If not, we can go up with someone else. Yes, you.
That's okay, just give me like a minute. I was eating.
Sounds like you were dying.
The macaroni is a little undercooked, but that's okay. Mr. Amy did his best, and I appreciate him for helping me in the first place.
That's wife material right there.
I've gotten Claire's. Macaroni's not gonna hurt anybody.
It's not like crunchy; it's a little extra chewy, so it's good.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, I'll just put this in the fridge real quick.
I believe that's called texture.
Is that why they call it Tex-Mex?
Oh my god.
Oh wait, I have a thing for this.
No, it should be booing.
Oh, booing, not wooing.
Okay, I'm back. Alright, I had to put my mac and cheese away, because I'm gonna fucking break out my handy dandy Kaya gum. Peppermint flavored gum.
Nice. I also have some cyberpunk sound effects that I will test out, and hopefully they are fine. I'm kind of excited about them.
See, now you do the woo sound effect.
Well, I can't because that's on a different page. God, now everyone knows that now everyone's gonna look at me and I'm gonna get embarrassed. God damn it, Iris.
Oh my god, there were girls watching.
No!
Oh my god. Who knows how many girls are watching on Twitch? Imagine how embarrassing that'd be.
Oh. So, Kaya, let me find some. Yeah. This is a perfect backdrop for the music too. You are going across town in Adams Ward, across town to visit someone close to you who you haven't spoken to, at least not in person, in a while. And they are they expecting you, or did you call ahead, or is this a surprise visit?
Probably didn't call ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Guy
Gotcha.
just shows up.
And you show up, you're taking public transport,
Yeah.
right? Because you're not using your bike currently?
No, he's not.
Okay. Let me go here. So we are going to start on the western end of Adams Ward, in a more kind of more city-looking area. This is as it gets closer to the other district, it starts to turn into the taller buildings. Despite being in this area, you are not going to something like a penthouse of any kind. You're going to a little garage that you know of that is not quite a hole in the wall. It's not a dump. It is a very well curated shop. Curated in terms of its capabilities, not in terms of its cleanliness. But here is where we will pick up. And inside the garage... Oh shit, hold on one second.
Happy.
Yeah, there is a puppy, and it is cute.
This is cool art.
Isn't it?
John, I'm going to jam you something really important.
Okay.
See, I'm staring at this dog, and It just looks like somebody has tried to strap like a propellant on its back. So now I'm just imagining a rocket boosted wheelchair dog.
God damn it. Okay. So let me get a little subfolder. Actually, wait. I don't need this. I already have the character subfolder. Never mind. No, I don't.
The plot thickens.
Fail.
The plot is shit. It's falling apart at the seams. And here. Okay. So, you find yourself in this very industrious part of the ward. And I don't know if any of you read it, or I don't if anyone I don't think anybody commented on it, but there is now a weather system that is being put into place on the station. And it's very soft weather. It's not going to ever impact day-to-day life in the city. So there's never going to be like snowstorms or anything. But you will now start to see rain and snow and experience moderate winds in different areas of the station at different times, because they're trying to make it more Earth-like. There's not going to be a pretty blue sky, but that's a work in progress, you would assume. Every day, the station gets more advanced and looks a little bit closer to what Earth used to look like. So, in this part of the station, it is, after having the weather implementation, it has started to become a little colder. It's a bit windy. But as you approach, you can see this large, I should say, it's actually wide. It's a wide open front steel garage door that has been pulled up, and like the panels raft along the ceiling, along the rails. You can see the sign above it. It's actually called the Rat's Nest, and it is just an absolutely rusted, beat up, kind of junky sign. It's not rusted from wear and tear on the station from weather. It's rusted because that was like salvage metal, and it was never like refurbished. It was salvage metal that was meant to just kind of give the aesthetic. But you can see on the inside there is some type of device or machine that looks vaguely motorcycle shaped. You're not entirely sure. There's no wheels on it. It's currently propped up on two different two different support mechanisms. It is this like bright red orange color, kind of like a scarlet, and it is slick with like the floor has stains and oil and bits and pieces and of metal and like nuts and bolts scattered all around it. You get that like really, really big whiff of like gas and petrol. And as you see the actual bike thing, it looks kind of like a speeder, honestly. It looks more like Star Wars speeder than it does anything else. It's not on, mind you. It's powered off. Underneath it, you can see the shadowed outline, the silhouette of someone who is currently working on welding something to the underside, doing some very, very not invasive, but labor-intensive modifications to this vehicle. And you get probably about 60 feet away when you hear the yipping of an agitated dog It is the same type of yipping you get from a dog that thinks it is 5 times its size. And before you know it, you can see out from around the corner a dog that has been affixed with some type of harness, but to the front and back of it. It seems to have wheels attached to it. Its front 2 legs are on what looks to be like a pedal wheel, and its back 2 legs are currently like somewhat damaged. Like the dog has been in some type of accident, but the back legs are hoisted on some type of like not rudimentary but homemade, I will call it, a more homemade wheelchair, like dog wheelchair, so that the dog is still mobile.
Aww.
But roofed on top of the dog and on the sides are what appear to be like the top appears to have some type of canister, and the sides appear to have some type of like curved tube that looks to be, if you didn't know better, you would think that that's like a rocket. But why would there be a rocket on a dog? That does not make any sense. But you definitely know that this dog, you barely recognize it as it rockets forward because it is really, really fast, and it is not running. It is like almost like tiny dog motorcycling towards you. It's 2 feet pedaling on the front, and its hind wheels keeping up. And the constant like yip, 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 and it flies up to you out of nowhere. And you've seen this dog before. It's a lot faster than you remember. There's also a lot more extra stuff put on it, but you've seen him, and he is not yipping defensively. This is a greeting an old friend yip. And this tiny little, I think it's a beagle, like a brown, black, and white splotched, like terrier type sized animal.
Yeah. Aw. Yeah. Kaya just like is like, what the fuck at the big blur, fast as fuck, and then she realizes, oh shit, he got faster. And she like kneels down to pet him, and she's like, whoa, hey Gadget, how you doing, bud?
Dog's like super happy, like it's like its tongue, Gadget's tongue is far larger than it has any right to be, and he slobbers all over you. There's like spittle and drool like splattering around in the area, and it's thanks to the new wind implementation on the station. He like his excited yipping and tongue slathering, some of that spit catches in the wind and just gets like right along part of your face, and you're just like, well, dog. Smells like dog. It smells like dog who rolled in some gasoline and the person panic washed it off. There's still the lingering like odor of gas fume, but he's probably fine. You also see his like leather collar has been replaced, and attached to his torso to nest the tank and like the fuel cell of some kind, and those 2 additions on the rear. It's almost like a breastplate. It's like a chassis that goes around Gadget's torso, and you can see like carved into the steel in like electric lettering, it says Gadget, and there's like a lightning bolt decoration. It's all hand done. So the lettering's a little choppy, but it's very much like, okay, they wanted to make him cool.
He's a baby!
But Gadget is very, very happy to see you. And from underneath the vehicle, you see like the sparks and bits of weld coming down, dancing around this person's face. You can't see their face, obviously, they have a welding mask on as sparks like haphazardly land near their hair and on part of their skin. This person is just, they're at this point likely inured to this type of thing. You would imagine that they should be wearing gloves, but one mechanical arm does not need a glove, and they're a stickler for symmetry, so no gloves it is. Just welding with the bare hand out. And as soon as you welcome the little gadget, and he stops freaking out, you hear like the welding just, and you get the squeaky of the wheels, and out from underneath slides a woman in her somewhere in like mid-50s. She's kind of short, still taller than. Every time I say that, I have to remember that this is short crew. She's shorter than you. She stands at about 4'6".
4'6"?
5'6"? Did I say 5'6"? 4'6"?
You said 4'6".
5'6". I was thinking. Sorry. Legacy is like 4'6", right?
She's like,
I fucking
somewhere
forget the
in there.
heights. Yeah, because I remember Legacy and Neon are short queens. But this woman is like slightly above the average height for a typical woman of her age. She's about 5'5", 5'6", and her like right side arm is just this hefty, like almost construction yellow limb that's got paint scratches and just all this wear and tear on it. There are fresh burns on that arm from the welding torch, which the welding torch is not part of the arm in this case, but you can see that there are a bunch of, like, on the forearm of this device, there are a bunch of, like, quick switch tools, things that you would use for, like, rapidly, like, tightening and untightening, like, hex heads. It's got a resizing device. It's got, like, it's basically an all-in-one super tool for drilling. Anything that you could reasonably do with the drill. And the hand itself, it is built for heavy objects and less minute manipulations. There's only 3 fingers. It looks like a hockey mitt, almost. And the one hand is quite large. And there's all sorts of dents and dings on it. Like, this is a well-used, well-loved piece of someone's machine. Like, this is a well-used, well-loved part of their body. And in the same way that scars tell a story, this arm with all of the dings, bumps, and scrapes on it tells quite the story. At least a few that you might know as well. And her hair, she has in... it's a lot shorter than you remember. She recently must have cut it some way, but she has gray hair that is kind of wavy, a lot like yours. And it's cut in like a short bob, so it falls below her ears. But with the sudden, like, intense heat and sweat and being underneath the machine, her hair is a little, like, kind of frizzed out and obviously a little messy. She has a bandana that's tied around it to keep it out of her eyes, and she slides the faceplate up, and you can see these, like, just weather-worn face of a woman who is just so elbow deep in mechanics and just the just physical nature of machine work that she has just, it follows her around almost. It is like part of her aesthetic as much as it is like the wheels in her garage or the wheels on her dog. But she looks at you, and there's like the pause of like disbelief and confusion, and is like, oh. And then after another second or two, she just goes like, well, hey there, Sprocket. I didn't know he was coming over.
All right.
She takes the mask off and just sets it on the vehicle beside her. And, like, she has blue overalls. Basically wears them the same way you do. Like a habit you and her share. She's got like the loose tank top on that's like tucked in, and then she has the top part of the coveralls down and knotted around her waist to get out of her way. But she walks over in her big old boots. It's like a sized down version of Kaya with like still the clothes are it's not quite sized right. She's a lot thinner than her clothes would lead you to believe. But she walks up, mirroring you in terms of the mechanical arm and the like just vibe of mechanic aesthetic. And she gives you goes for a big ol' hug.
Yeah, big hug.
Sprocket going absolutely, or not, Gadget going absolutely fucking mental, just zipping around, happy panting.
All right. I'd like to let you know, though, Joe, that Kaya would have brought Larry. Or do you want to save that for later?
No, we can. Just the one Larry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay. So, you would have Larry just floating close by beside you. Gadget isn't really paying attention because Larry's a bit too high off the ground. Larry tends to float above or at your head. So he's not actually looking up. He's more fixated on you. But as soon as this woman pulls away, she looks at you and looks you up and down, and she just goes, "Well, you didn't call." And she turns her head and just looks over at Larry and just tilts her head and goes, "And who's this little fella?"
Oh, right. This is Larry. I built him after I moved out.
And she nods and holds out a hand and just goes, "Well, how do you do, sir?" And Larry flies down and grabs her big metal mitt with both of his little manipulators. He has one manipulator on her top finger and one on her bottom finger. And you could tell that she is moving, letting him do the movement, because the hand only moves a little bit, and there's not much grace in the limb that she has. This is if she really put some oomph behind it, she could yeet this poor boy. But Larry just smiles and shakes her hand happily.
It's worth not calling.
Oh, it's all right. I know how it is. Life gets down, get a little busy, forget to call. No harm. She turns around, starts walking around. She's like, "Come on in, come in. Working on this fucking mess right now. Gonna turn this into absolute beauty."
What's it gonna do? And also, Rat, how many times I gotta fucking tell you? You gotta use your fucking gloves. Look.
You can see her other, her actual flesh hand. There's little bits and burns and cuts and scrapes all over it. Her hand is damn near just calloused all the way from wrist to fingertip. And she just looks at it and she just goes, "Oh, little fire hurt nobody." Look, she holds her hand out, turns it around and over, and she's like, "I ain't even bleeding that much."
Yeah, no, it's fucking burning, Rat.
She wipes her hand on the inside of her shirt, smearing off some of the dirt. It doesn't really do anything. It just kind of rearranges all of the gross. But she walks in, takes pushes a bandana a little bit farther up on her head, and she goes, "Well, yeah, you know how it is. But look, I got this for you. This beauty right here." She puts a hand down on top of this machine, and as she sets her hand down on it, you can see how precariously balanced it is. This is very much she didn't have the props for this type of vehicle, so she's just kind of using what she's got. It'd be like if those wheel ramps that you use to get underneath a car.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like if you had only two of those and you wanted to get a motorcycle up, So you just kind of position them weird and put the motorcycle up, and you're like, this is fine, who cares? And you kind of put a wood brick underneath the wheels to hold it still. So this is the equivalent of that. It's stable. It's stable. Probably.
Just like, at first Kai's like impressed with the machine, then she looks at what it's on, she's like, crap, are you fucking under that thing with no one else around?
She looks at you, she's like, why you gotta go acting like my mama? You just show up here and you're gonna just lecture me on safety regulation and protocol. What kind of OSHA shit is this?
It's literal OSHA shit, right? It's
She
in the
just like
fucking book.
she just grins at you, and you can see there's a little gap between her two front teeth, and she's got like this. She has a smile that is like it. You could tell her you walked in having just murdered somebody, and she would still be able to have this same old patchy smile on her face. But she, like, you lecture her on OSHA, she just like smiles, grins, bears it, turns around, reaches into the like tool drawer that's like just hand reach away, rips open the drawer, and then inside there's, of course, the just menagerie of tools, most of which are not used due to the like efficiency of having the tool like plethora on her arm. But inside, it's just collected tools from when she didn't have the arm, and it's just she's not going to get rid of them. She likes them too much. These are old reliable, and that one's old reliable, and this one's old reliable. But to the left of all of these tools, there's a little cardboard box that's beat up, and it's been in there for God knows how long, but it's freshly stocked with a bunch of unmarked beer bottles. And she reaches in and grabs two out and sets one on the counter, and then puts one, like, looks at it and holds it out to you. This is root beer, for the record. She home brews she makes her own root beer. She also brews her own spirits, but she has been aware of some of the things in your past and is like has accommodated.
Kai will gratefully take one of the root beers.
She will clink it, and as soon like she clinks it, the cap on yours just pops off because it wasn't properly sealed. And she like it just shoots off, it hits the ceiling and ricochets into some corner of the garage. Then you fucking Gadget just chases it. You can hear him ruffling inside some garbage. And she looks at him, nods approvingly, and just goes, "Well, he'll get it for us."
You train him to get bottle caps for you?
Well, I ran out a while ago, so I just used some of that sheet metal. And she points to a piece of sheet metal, and you can see holes punched out of it. Works just as fine. It's not like lid's gonna stay on him anyway. With her mechanical hand, she reaches over, grabs the edges of the lid, and just and she hyperextends the robotic fingers, like so that it turns into, from a finger position, almost like a wrenching claw. And she pulls the bottle cap off and then crushes it and then throws it over her shoulder. And then like clinks her drink, just goes, "So, how long are you gonna stay? You gonna stay and help me with this thing? Because I gotta be honest, I was just about fitting to take the engine block out, and I don't really have nothing to saddle it onto except this guy right here." And she puts her foot on top of the thing she was sliding out under. It's like, I don't think he's gonna survive the trip.
Can you repeat that? Sorry. Was he not going to survive?
She wants to take the engine block out, and she has just this little wooden platform with 4 wheels on it. Oh, so shit. She's like, it's not going to survive the trip. The engine block's going to hit it, and it's just going to destroy it.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
She shrugs and just goes, "Well, you don't know until you try."
if you look at the weight capacity on it, you can kind of fucking know.
She, like, nods, just kind of shakes her head, like, yeah, and then, like, does a double take, looks past you, kind of like looking behind you, as if she's looking for someone. And she takes a, like, bit of a, not a step back, but kind of leans back on halfway steps and just kind of goes, well, where's your box, sweetie?
My what?
Well, you're back. Where's Clyde? You ain't ever been more than, what, 45 feet away from him at any given time?
Right. About that. She just, like, takes like a sip of root beer. Kind of what I wanted to talk to you about.
She, like, there's a very serious mask over her face, but she still has that, like, vibe, like, radiating positivity. So she nods, and she walks over, grabs a stool, and slides it up, and then she just sits on top of the tool chest. She's like, have a seat. Oh, sit, Sprocket. I want you to tell me what happened.
Oh, boy. Alright, just... Alright. So, you know my little hobby I had a couple years back?
And she, like, raises her eyebrows and, like, knowing, like, she's like,
You know
I
how
do
we don't
remember.
talk about? Something happened.
She, like, blinks, narrow her eyes, like, not in suspicion, but in, like, a very concentrated seriousness. Like, she's really intently listening.
There was something happened, and right at the finish line, I had to bail out, and I crashed. Right, Clyde's gone, and I crashed.
Nods really solemnly. She's, like, her eyes are just reading every last little twitch of your face. She's got her elbows on her knees and the drink in one hand. She nods and just goes, okay, you're walking. Got both legs working good, unless one of these motherfuckers is fake. She, like, pokes a metal finger on one of your kneecaps.
Oh, what the fucking real? I had to replace the arm, though.
She looks at him, like, nods. I could tell. Seems like a kind of a done-up loner, but it'll be good in a couple months. You'll get your old little spice back on it.
I haven't had time for it.
And she nods.
Luckily, the arm took all of the shock when I skidded across the pavement.
Well, that's good.
Pretty
I'm
much
glad you
melted.
walk away with. I'm glad that's all you're walking away with, to be honest. I never told you about my first wreck, or my second wreck, or my third wreck, did I?
You wrecked?
She leans back and, like, she has, like, this weird sense of pride about it. Like, kind of turns away, sips the root beer, and turns back. She goes, everybody wrecks. That's what happens when you get on a bike. What do you think? You're just going to go through life, just not experience everything that could be thrown at you? What's that? Morgan's rule or some shit?
I don't know, man. It's not my area of expertise. I don't fucking know. I mean, I've been riding for what? Fucking 15 years, and I didn't wreck till now, and it wasn't even my fault.
She should, like, nod, like, yeah, no shit. It's never your fault. Nobody pays fucking attention to these motorcyclers. We're out there risking our goddamn lives just to try to have a good time. These motherfuckers just try to run up the road. Now, I'll tell you right now, it don't matter how many years you've been riding. It don't matter. Because that wreck's gonna happen. And I am glad it happened 15 years in. Because if it happens in that first year, well, shit, you probably ain't gonna walk away from it. She shrugs and just goes, that happened 12 years in. I didn't even start riding until I was another 5 or 6 years on top of you. Damn near 30 years old. Took a crash when I was 40-something. She shrugs like, yeah. Hurts. You hit that pavement out there, and she points to outside, like the garage, and she goes, you hit that shit going 60 miles an hour. You are this close to death. And she holds 2 metal fingers real close together. She's like, that's just how it is. But you're smart. You ride safe. You gear up. She points to your arm. She's like, and you know how to take a fall. And she points, she like holds out her arm, and she like does like a little, like grips her fingers into a fist and opens them up a couple times. She's like, I know how to take a fall. That's not something you can really teach somebody. That's why they don't teach it to you when you're taking the classes and all.
Nah. You're the one who told me it.
She shrugged. Was like, well, that's why I didn't teach it to you. Because you just kind of fall.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And you fucking get tossed around, scuffed up. All you need to make sure is that you get up after you fall. No matter how many times you fall. And I mean, you said Clyde's gone and passed into the next life. Like, holds the beer up, like, to the sky, tips it over a little bit, and pours some beer out onto the floor. Immediately, Gadget runs over and is like, screeches to a halt and starts licking it up. And then she starts taking a sip. She just goes, you need help build another one, sweetie? I can't bring Clyde back from the dead, but I can certainly help bring someone else in this beautiful world. She nods to the like the fucking thing in front of you, which, again, you still don't entirely know what it is, but she nods to it and just, that right there, well, could be yours. If you want it.
What is it?
Don't rightly know myself. I found it in Junk Heap and it looked really cool. I think it was a go-kart.
Go-kart?
Well, sorta, because it's too thin.
It's
too thin to be a go-kart, but it ain't got no anti-grav like sled underneath it. So the shit can't fucking, it's not gonna fly anywhere. I gotta install wheels on it if I want it to go fucking anywhere. But like, hell, it looked cool as hell. So that's where I'm taking it. Engine's entirely electric, so it's not as heavy. Shrugs like it's still pretty heavy.
Nah, but it's still got the fucking chassis is all weird. I don't know what the fuck it should be built for.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know who fucking made this. I don't know what it's for. She shrugs, like, does like a hand, like that sort of like fucking whatever gesture, and moves on and just goes, but listen, Spot, you just do what you can, okay? If you want to take a break from riding, you take a break from riding. If you need to get your head back in the game, you do that. Box will wait for you. I'll tell you another thing, Clyde, I don't blame you. You did all you could to keep him alive. And she points to you and pokes you in the chest a little bit too hard. And just kind of goes, and he did all he could to keep you alive. That's what counts. And you can see out of the corner of your eye, Larry, like, nodding up and down, like, very sagely. She just goes, I know it's hard, though. Like, I mean, loss is a loss. Hell, I cried when I lost my bike. But I'll be damned if that's going to stop me from getting on another one.
That's the thing, right? I've built a new one. I can't get on it.
She looks at you like, leans to the left, looks at the left side of your face, leans to the right, looks at the right side of your face, just goes, Are you sure you can't get on, or you just don't want to get on yet?
I don't fucking know. I mean, I wanna, but whenever I sit on it and I stop messing with the handles and checking all the brakes, I just remember having to bail out.
She puts a hand, she moves the root beer from one hand to the other and puts a hand on your shoulder and just goes, I'm glad you learned. I'm glad you remember. You're never going to forget that fall. It's always going to be right up here. She points a finger and pokes to the side of your head. That's just how falls is. Next one's going to be just as bad, I promise you. And there's going to be a next one. And there might even be one after that. I'm still waiting on number 4. And she gestures to the thing in front of you like that is what she's going to wreck on. But you need to remember it. You need to not forget it. You keep that in your mind, you keep it in your heart, and you remember getting up after it. And she points to you again with this this kind of forehead tilted forward look, and just goes, that's the important part. You walked away. Not a lot of people get to walk away, but when you do, don't forget. Don't let it haunt you. That's a blessing right there.
Kaya nods. And she takes a sip. And she kind of just stares at the floor for a second.
Gadget moves in front of your field of view, just looks at you.
She just cracks a smile and just pets him.
As you're petting Gadget, she leans forward on her elbow, so she's a little bit closer to you, and touches you with her elbow. She just goes, they're not done yet, but I put hydraulic thrusters on his little backpack there.
Yeah, so you also rolled around the fuel again. I told you to stop leaving that out.
I do leave it out. He likes it. He likes to smell like gas. Oh, what's wrong with that dog? That shit's toxic. He just fucking fume addict is what he is. And she takes another sip of her root beer.
Alright, he can't be rolling around in fuel.
I do my best to clean it up. You listen, he'll find a puddle of it. I can't let hell. She gestures to a corner. This corner is so suffused with scraps of metal and nondescript pieces of just stuff. She's just I don't even know what's in that corner no more. I don't go over there. Don't need to. That's just where I keep my spare bottle cap material. Probably a couple puddles back there.
Alright, I'm gonna get you a fucking mop or something. I'm gonna build you a fucking drone. I'm gonna fucking get a Roomba, respec it for getting fuel, and get it for you. And put it in the shop.
She wipes her nose and looks at Larry and just goes, well, if you want to lend me the help of this fine gentleman right here, I would not turn it down. I don't know if you can hold the mop, though. Seems a little bit above your weight class. No offense. And Larry just nods and just goes, I can't lift a mop.
Yeah, bud. I don't know. I mean, if you want to help, you can probably take a couple of paper towels and I can help you.
He nods and just goes, I can carry paper towels.
Yeah.
And she nods, just points and just goes, gonna need a lot of paper towels. But I got a couple lying around here somewhere that probably aren't used.
Yeah. probably gonna be taking a little secret stash of dirty grease rags too. Might as well get them all out.
She smirks and drinks the rest of the root beer and sets the glass bottle down behind her and puts her hands like on top of her knees and leans back a little bit, kind of puffs her chest out, just goes, I ain't got my bike in this garage right now. I'm parked out back. Do you want to just take a sit on it? See how you feel?
Sure. I can test it out.
She nods. Like, good, because I upped the engine and I haven't sat on it yet. She jumps off.
What?
She turns around and just waves like, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna up the engine, but I haven't yet. And she gestures to the different corner. This corner you can see is a little bit more tidy. It's not just filled with random shapes and bits and bobs. There is an engine block there there's actual like wrenches that they wouldn't fit. These are too large, and like the lever of the arm is too big to fit on her actual like quick arm swap tool thing. So there's a couple of tools like still hooked into this engine. This like she is taking pieces apart, and she's like, about halfway through getting all the grime out. I need to take it apart, give another acid bath or two, and maybe just do a little bit of spit shine, because I want these here flanges to stick out from the edge.
Mm-hmm. Are you changing anything, or are you just cleaning it?
She just shakes her head and just goes, no, I'm still cleaning it. If I try to use this baby now, it's just going to turn into a tar trap.
Yeah, that's not fucking pretty.
And she nods and just goes, I already had fucking seize up on me once when I was trying to test it out. And she kicks it and it doesn't move. She kicks it and just goes, this bitch is so thick with something.
I mean, it's probably some gunk in the combustion chamber.
That's what I'm saying. It's just totally gunked all the way up to hell.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Well, I can try to sit on the bike, see how I feel on it, and then I can help you with changing out the engine block, or find something to put it on. If not, I could probably restructure your trolley to handle it. If I can take some of your fucking scrap metal, bend it, re-weld it. I mean, that's just flattened out, extruded aluminum.
She reaches out and takes your root beer and takes a sip and then puts it back in your hands and just goes, you can take as much scrap metal as you need, sweetie. And pats you on the shoulder and reaches into the other pocket and pulls out a set of keys. And you can see on these are like, to this era, it is a normal set of keys. But to the cyberpunk era, this is retro shit. You might as well get out like a hand crank. Like she pulls out this set of keys and it's like, oh, okay, you're gonna fucking get in what, some kind of like rickety ass like steam coffin sort of nonsense. And she twirls it on her finger and you can see on one of the little on the ring of keys. So there's two, and there's a little like red and white striped like retro looking space rocket.
Kaya sees it and she just snorts.
Sorry, repeat that.
Kaya sees the little rocket keychain and she snorts.
She just twirls them on her finger, and spins around the corner, and she tosses you the keys, like probably like 20 or 15, 20 feet away, spins them, tosses them to you. Roll quick.
Hell yeah, let's go. It's great if she doesn't catch it. It's great if she does. Oh, that was with advantage. That's a 5
8.
plus 3 is an 8.
Yeah. So you catch them, no problem. You hold your hand out and they just boom, right in the smack of your palm, and you catch it. Turn the rocket over, and on one side you see like a little fake, like blue cockpit, and on the other side you see on the writing in like old, kind of beach wavy font. It says Sandy.
Sandy?
And she nods. She's like, she's waiting over there, and you better not keep this lady waiting. And she walks around the corner and snaps her fingers.
Yes, ma'am.
Gadget's like already hobbling after, and just excitedly chasing down, because like this usually Rocket gets to go with her, so this is like, oh hell yeah, ride time. And so you walk just around the block. You see right, like saddled on the edge of the street. This is why she didn't have it in the garage. There is this like wide base motorcycle that the front wheel is this like thick, wide-based rubber like standalone tire, and there are a row of headlights, 3 headlights high, like in a straight line, almost like a traffic light, but it's tilted so that it fits on the front of the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
The bars curve up and around. They're like beach bars. There's no fender on the front. It's just the body, which is this smooth red and white striped, like very, very tightly compact frame. And then the back end has 2 wheels that are like linked together and in tandem. And she has custom made like almost like a wheel well rig so that it will support the axle between the 2 wheels. So it's technically a 3-wheeled motorcycle, but it will handle like a 2-wheeled motorcycle. And on either side of it, like the red body, like the fender of the body moves around it and flays outward exactly like that red rocket. And and on the side, right about where like she walks up over to it and puts her hand on the top of the headlight on the front, and you can see if someone were to sit on it and lean forward and hold their handles, lean back and hold the handlebars, you'd be able to see the lettering, and on the side it says Sandy in the same font that's on the keys.
Kai lets out just like a low whistle. Like,
and there's one last bit. So you walk up and you see that, and on the other side of this, there is a sidecar that you can see is built not originally part of the motorcycle. This is the sidecar that she has had to custom attach so that she could bring Gadget, and it has like its own little seat and like domed plastic cover, and inside of the cover there's a hook. It's like a carabiner hook so that it locks, and on that hook ring there are doggles. Gotta have doggles.
Kai just like lets out a low whistle, just circles this thing. She sees the doggles and she just lets out like a fucking grin as she looks up to Rat. You got a helmet for him too?
She like nods and just goes, "We here always play by the rules. I respect OSHA. I always keep my safety gear up to date." She's like holding up her hands like you're a fucking cop. She's just like, I promise, officer, everything here is up to code. I keep my boy safe. And she pats him on the head.
Except when he's rolling around in fucking fuel.
She, like, holds up her hand and just goes, okay, now watch this. She leans down and flips a switch on his backpack. And Gadget's backpack, like, unfolds, rears forward, and clasps like this iron helmet around his head. And he's very clearly like comfortable. He doesn't even flinch. Like this thing clamps around his head and then disengages from the body, so that he has this like weirdly custom fitted Iron Man helmet with like a spot for the goggles to be slid, like the little band to be slid around and then tightened.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like fucking loving it, just hanging out. You can see his tongue hanging out of the bottom of the helmet.
Holy shit! How the fuck? That's fucking awesome, Rat.
You better believe this fucking helmet backpack situation, this took me probably 10 times longer than it took me to put this goddamn bike together.
Yeah, I gotta account for all the dimensions, the fact that he might be tilting his head and shit. You have tracking on him?
She nods and just goes, yeah, I got it all situated here. And she pats him on the butt. And you can see, like, after she pats him on the butt, he doesn't have a tail. There is an antenna that's, like, just springing around on the back of the little wheels. And as she pats him, he, like, looks at her and then wiggles, and the antenna just kind of...
Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going for what? How long has it been?
Oh shit, Rocket, you know I don't fucking keep calendars in this goddamn building.
I gave you one a year ago.
Well, yeah, and it came out of date.
I'm gonna get you another fucking calendar.
Okay, well, you better put it somewhere where I don't fucking forget it.
Yeah, just in charge of the calendar. Putting it with all of his things. He's not gonna fucking lose it.
She like smiles and laughs and looks down at Gadget, and then like she puts her like curls her bottom lip and does like and Gadget immediately like bolts, whips around the side of the motorcycle and jumps in and just starts like putting his nose touching the goggles, like trying to flick them with the edge of his nose. He can't put them on himself, so he's like, put them on.
He knows that's the next step. Gadget, such a good fucking boy.
He looks up and just like you can't see the doggy smile. You can only see like the tongue just lolling from underneath the helmet.
That's it. As soon as we're done here today, I'm gonna go get all the fucking treats I can fucking carry.
Don't you make him fat now. I've been putting him on this doggy diet for 6 weeks now. He's looking good. Okay? He's gonna get all kinds of girl dog things. You best believe it.
Fuck, Rat. A treat here that is gonna fucking hurt him.
Gadget is looking between the two of you like totally lost, but he's just like, okay, I know the word treat, so why is this being thrown around? Like head whipping back and forward. And Rat just waves her hand and just goes, you just got to take him for a ride. And if you see any cute little dames, get their number for him. Looks at him, and he, again, like Gadget, looks from Rat to you, and just doggy confusion. Just totally lost.
You know,
but excited to be included.
Take him by the dog park or something. But you think I could drive it?
She nods. Just goes, I know you can. Done it before. I think you want to do it again.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have spent like what fucking 4 days without a break working on the next bike, which is she like reaches into her pocket and just pulls out like a folded like fucking schematics, just like tosses it to Rat.
And she grabs it. Like, you mentioned the next bike, and Rat's like, oh shit, you already got another one. And she's looking at it, folds it open, and you watch her expression go from like, oh, because it's like you had to doctor up a mapping of this Japanese-made street bike and what you were doing to change it. Or it's like pseudo-Japanese. It's not actually Japanese, but it's like some like street ganger crotch rocket, and you've got all of the things on there written down to measure. And she's just looking at it, just like, oh, please tell me you got this. Please tell me this is like well underway, and it don't look like this. And she holds the paper towards you. She's like, no more.
I had all the parts to make them from scratch, but one of my friends acquired a couple of bikes, and I figured it'd be easier to modify an Ulta one than to start from scratch. So, yeah, it doesn't look like that. Stripped it out. Fucked with the engine already. Did most of the body work already. I've just got some finishing touches, paint job, testing it, making sure all the brake lights are working.
She leans back, looks at the schematic, wipes her nose with her finger again, just kind of, well, you come down to the shop if you ever need a hand. Door's always open for you, any hour of the day. Just know that if you come here after dark, Gadget's going to lose his mind.
All right. Thanks, Rad. If I can take him around the block or something, then I'll probably bring it in and see if you spot anything wrong with
Gadget interrupts you in the middle of your sentence, like impatiently, just like, bark, bark.
Fuck.
Like,
okay.
he's like very clearly been patient, waiting in the seat.
Right. Okay. All right. Fucking fine, Gadget. Just spoiling him, you know. You didn't used to do this shit before.
She nods and just goes, check under his seat. And if you see, there's like underneath Gadget's seat, there's a little like latch, like it's a little chest.
Mm-hmm.
And if you undo the latch, part of the front panel, like when you sit on a chair or when you sit on a seat in a car, there's like the under part of the seat that falls forward, and you can see that there's like a bag of stashed treats in there.
Thought he was on a fucking diet, Rat.
She nods, like, he is on a diet. I give him as much as he wants. That's the fucking diet.
Kai just shakes her head and closes the fucking compartment. Just...
You can, like, at this point, Gadget is, like, going absolutely fucking mental. He's, like, scooting in the seat, like, back and forth, and the little antenna's like...
All right. Jesus. Fucking chill. She, like, puts the fucking goggles on him.
As soon as you put the goggles on and like seals the helmet front, he immediately like eyes forward, and you see the tongue like slip back into his mouth, and he is now in like ride mode.
All that fucking goggles. All right. Well, I'll see if I could take him around. I've got this. I can do this. Pretty fucking sure I can. Do you mind keeping an eye on Larry for me?
Larry, who has been like looking and floating around, baffled at this like vehicle, like realizes you said his name. His head immediately straightens up and looks at you, and then turns around, looks at Rat, and Rat just goes, well, I'll show him around my shop, see if he can't find something interesting to take home with him.
Rat?
Relax. I'm not gonna give him a gun.
Don't
She like
weld.
turns.
Don't weld it into him.
She like turns and starts waving to you, even though you haven't left. She's like waving like goodbye and holds her arm in like a little hook, like a crook of her arm. And then Larry flies over and like wraps his manipulators are too short, so he has to kind of awkwardly hug the side of her arm as he is escorting her back to his garage, or back to her garage.
All right. I'll be back later. Don't weld anything to him.
And she just waves. It is very much a wave of like, you can't stop me, but also fine, I'll respect your wishes.
Yeah. This is really just dropping your kid off at grandma's house and like they can't have candy before dinner. You're like, fine.
Yeah, and she's just like, no, I make the fucking rules here. This is my domain. Everybody gets what they want.
All right. Kaya's just gonna fucking watch them go back, and then she's gonna just probably pace next to the bike for a little bit, just like a minute, just looking. She's like checking the wheels, making sure they're good. She pulls out a fucking tire pressure gauge. Fucking checks the tire pressure. She fucking tests the brakes. She fucking makes sure that the headlights are working. And she kind of does all of the like last minute like checks she could think to do. Yeah, she's procrastinating. Yeah, she does. She probably spends like 10 minutes just going around the bike, just doing as much as she can to just put off actually driving it.
At the end of those 10 minutes, by the time you're like having done a lap or 2 or 3 or 4 around this bike, Gadget is like whining, like getting really, really antsy. Like, are we not going for a ride? I don't know. I thought we were going for a ride. I've got the goggles on.
She's like, oh, you fuck, that fucker. She brought you here to guilt me into doing this, huh?
She's just happy dog smile again.
Oh my fucking god. All right, fine. I could look. Just calm down, Gadget. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. We're just gonna take it slow, and we're gonna. Tires are good. I've got nothing else to check. All right. She's gonna sit down. She doesn't start it yet, but she sits down. She's just gonna like adjust the fucking mirrors. Does a little bit more procrastinating for like another minute before she turns the engine on.
Okay. Roll me a cool check, and you can roll this. You can roll this with. Do 4d6 and keep the highest 3.
Okay, so I'm just gonna roll.
Yeah.
And advantage 1.
Do advantage and boost.
Okay.
So advantage and boost 1.
So 3 dice, advantage 1. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. So you sit on the bike, and the procrastinating obviously did not help. Just pacing around and looking at it, and like, it is a nice bike. It doesn't look like Clyde, but it has the color, it has the sort of retro speed factor to it. It's got all of the trappings and cool like pastiche of motorcycles past, with all of the modernism that is required to make it like a functional, cool, and speedy ride in this age. But just there's nervousness. There's very palpable nervousness. And so you do your laps and you do your checks and all of these things that you can think to do, and everything is exactly in order. Rat is, if nothing else, babying her motorcycle too. And you sit on it. It is just perfectly lined, perfectly weighted. Everything is distributed in a very smooth way. It's heavier than Clyde and a lot lower and wider to the ground, but it feels almost like when you have when you're in your bed as a kid and you're used to your bed, and then at one day in the future you get to sleep in like mom and dad's bed, which is much bigger, but there's like a like somehow more plush, full comfort that is part of their bed for some reason. You sit on this motorcycle and it doesn't feel like Clyde, but it is very welcoming. It's just a very, very comfortable seat. And when you finally muster up the bit, you've calmed down enough, sitting in the seat, you take a lot less time procrastinating, and you flip the key in the engine. And it feels a little goofy to do this because you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll put the key in and turn the ignition. And when you do that and you hear the engine just like burst and burn to life, it doesn't sputter or hesitate. It is just immediately on, and you feel that like rumble. It's a lot like Clyde because that was sort of the aesthetic that you were raised on with Rat is this like rumbly kind of classic motorcycle feel. But this is a lot more rumbly than Clyde, but it doesn't feel like shaky. It's not this like nervous shaking of like gonna fall apart. It is like the rumble of like a cat purring, except times 1,000. And you just sit on it, grip the handles for a second, and you remember the part of the ride that was the scariest part to you. Your mind like flashes for a second, and again you are back out in that vacuum, and it's just dead silent. You can feel the motorcycle, you can feel Clyde, but you can't hear him. And you can feel the momentum of your movement, but you can't hear wind. But without your helmet, or without like such a cumbersome helmet, having the one that you had, you're able to look around and enjoy like having a full range of motion and vision. And you look back to the station, and what in that moment was striking you with just gut-wrenching fear, this distance that when you looked at it, you were like, oh my God, I'm out here in this area where I am right beside death. I could just die right here, and I would be off into the void, forgotten forever. You have that same thought. You see it from like almost like a dispassionate arm's length. And you remember that feeling you had. But when you revisit this image in your mind and you look at the station, there's a little like glimmer of familiarity. Because you didn't get to appreciate it at the time, but when you were out there, you could see Adams Ward from where you were. You could actually look and see the entirety of Adams Ward and the city. And you got to drive by Mariposa Ward from a side of Mariposa that maybe less than 1% of people ever have seen and ever will see. And you got to go up and around and through this entire thing. This is a world. This is more than just a city. It's more than a collection of cities. This is a damn near a country that you got to enjoy this vista of, at least a small part of this vista. And in the moment, fearing for your life, you were so concentrated on keeping yourself and Ben Getty safe. But visiting it in hindsight, you're remembering that moment and how it kind of affirmed like, oh, I've been there my whole life. And it's almost like that pale blue dot sensation where you get to see all of this history of your life and potentially all of parts of the future of your life that you'll get to take place in. At least a good chunk of it. And then you have your mind flash forward and you see the observer and you see all of this stuff rushing towards you, and you slide beneath that part of the observer, move past it, and you watch it in slow motion as this alien thing that you didn't know was even down here. You left that street racing a motorcycle and you returned to see a damn near fictional mythical creature erupting from the ground, manifesting in a horrifying way. And the first thought you had was, I need to save my friends. And all of the fear and anguish of the crash and the hurt and the fear of tumbling and, oh my God, are we going to be okay? All of that washes away after you see replay in your mind, almost from like a third person perspective. You see yourself snap into action and you grab Ben Getty, and in one fluid move, you ditch Clyde and have your final goodbye as he careens into the observer, doing some catastrophic amount of damage to this creature. And you tumble to the ground in just the right way so that you and Ben Getty both walk away from this encounter. And then you get up to help your friends. And all that you can see, like revisiting this memory, is just the sheer force of will and determination that you had, and how you, in spite of all of the insanity going on, didn't miss a beat, despite having just been through a hellish wreck. And it's all of that anxiety and all of that fear just starts to melt away, and you find yourself sitting back on the motorcycle on Sandy, and you look and you see Gadget sitting there in the car, like kind of rocking back and forth on his front paws, so excited to be there, ready any second for you to go forward. And you don't ease off the clutch and accelerate yet, but you twist the throttle and you feel the buildup of the engine. And what you had in your mind heard is this, what you had before remembered with just such fear and anxiety right before what was a screaming, crooning crash. You hear this like almost reminiscent ring of Clyde. And then it slowly starts to fade and morph back into Sandy. And you let off the clutch very, very slowly. Just pure instinct. Practiced for years and years and years without any issue at all. And you just take off. And it's exactly like riding a bike. You didn't forget. And going back on it now, you wondered how you could have even gone so long without riding. And you go around and enjoy as much of that freedom and relaxation as you can, with Gadget at your side. And I think that would be a good place to take a break if you're okay with it.
I have one final question.
Mm-hmm.
can I delete short fuse?
Yes, you can. You can delete short fuse. You can replace it with motorcycling or motorcycle proficiency.
Motorcycles +3 again. Let's go.
And I will say, having gone through all of what you've gone through, I will let you bump it up to motorcycles +4, so that you get an extra little boost.
Holy shit.
Kaya, the motorcycle goddess.
Kaya is
Holy
growing.
Holy shit, Kaya has healed a little bit.
Kaya's overcoming her trauma. Yay!
Yay! I didn't think she could do it, but she did it.
And Gadget helped.
Gadget helped so much. If Gadget wasn't there, she probably wouldn't do it.
Emotional support puppy.
Yeah. She's like, well, she can't disappoint Gadget.
Do you really want to get blessed out by a dog?
Exactly. She's like, well, I
You
can't
never-
fucking take him out of the
You
fucking
can never
seat.
disappoint Gadget.
He'd never forgive me.
Never.
No amount of treats could help that.
That kicked puppy look of like, but why? I was good boy.
I didn't anticipate making Gadget an integral part of guilting you into recovering, but after the addition of Gadget, I was like, no, he is key.
Yeah. Oh my god, Joe, I love Rat so much.
I was sleeping on this rat, this idea of Rat, since you had given me like a more clear idea of who she was, and I was like, ooh, this is good. She's the aunt, so she's the aunt from like the south to combat your northern family.
Yeah.
It's Grandma Joe time.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I was able to do her justice, and now I have to pee.
Okay. Holy shit. I had to mute myself so much because there were so many times I was just laughing so hard. Holy shit, it's 9:30.
Yup.
That took so long, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Makes you feel any better, Kai's not gonna be angry anymore.
Wasn't that short fuse giving you like a +1 to like your strength checks or some shit though?
Oh, it was essentially swapping out Kai's +3 to motorcycles to short fuse +3. So whatever would qualify under short fuse got a +3. So breaking shit, bashing someone with a tire iron was a +3 with short fuse. So she is not combat at all anymore.
Oh boy.
Yep. So Lockhart's got this.
Marcus,
She has
you better
brawling.
be a good backup.
She's got brawling +1, so she's got a total of it's 2d6 plus 3 total with her tough stat with the brawling +1. So she's not like helpless.
Okay. Joe is hydrated and empty.
Hello. I call that an oil change.
Hell yeah.
So stupid.
What?
It's in character, okay?
Yeah, it was totally in character. That's what I was doing.
That was like the last thing I was anticipating hearing.
It's just in character. Also, Joe,
Yeah.
want to share Rat's picture?
Yes, I will add Rat to the allied NPCs.
Ooh.
Let me get her full picture. Nope, not that one.
I was really hoping her name was going to be Sandy.
Her name was going to be Sandy?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the bike's name.
I know
Yeah,
it's
the
the
bike-
bike's name.
yeah.
Like, I know now, but when I first saw Sandy, I was like, oh, I hope that's her name. That's funny grandma name.
No, her name is not fitting to her at all. It's great.
Yeah, her name is like grossly like she prefers to be called Rat for a reason.
Uh-huh. Because, I mean, it's not like a secret. Kai would be like, why do you call her Rat? She prefers Rat. Why does she prefer Rat? Shows a picture of her. Her name's Charlotte. Or Charlie. Or just Rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me find the full body picture and I will throw
It's in our
it
DMs.
in. Yeah, here we go. In that is the wrong character one. Character images. Zoop. And
Oh, the last message is in the character images. Poor Dr. Pog.
yeah,
Poor Dr. Pog.
he's fine.
He seems like such a nice dude, and we just
Yeah.
sicked all these people on him.
Yeah. Aw.
Why is it that we always, whenever we go to that freaking club, we end up with like, oh, poor boy.
I don't know, actually.
We've only gone there twice.
Both times
Could
we
just
ended
be
up with an aw,
coincidence.
poor boy. It's just this time there was only one person, so we couldn't adopt the aw, poor boy.
Mm-hmm.
I love that image for Rat.
Yeah.
That is one of my all-time favorite images for Cyberpunk.
She looks like I am very my expectations, you smashed right through them.
Yeah.
Just holy shit, man. I had to mute so many times because I was dying.
It was very fun to be the sassy, no shits given
Mm-hmm.
auntie.
Yeah, she don't give a shit. Fucking dog's playing in fuel again. He likes it.
Oh.
Okay.
So, next up on the docket, I think was Lockhart. I think Lockhart, you wanted to steal some time from the other elder character.
That would be nice, but like if there's not enough time, it's fine.
Yeah, there's time. it's part of what you would have done in the 2-week span, right? Because that was part of the information gathering that you did. So yeah, at some point during that time, you would have gone to visit Veloska.
The good doctor.
The question is, when you go to see him, are you going during the day or the evening? Are you calling ahead or are you not?
I'm not calling ahead.
That seems like a mistake with the guy that has shotguns all around his place.
Just knock. Knocking isn't bad.
He would appreciate knocking.
Yeah, she would go, like, evening, I guess, like, sun's starting to go down-esque time.
Mm-hmm. So
still within business hours, but probably closing time, kind of.
Yeah, right around the time he flips on the neon lighting, and just kind of, the assumption is, don't come in unless it's an absolute somebody is dying emergency, please. And you start heading over that way in the evening time, and you actually see, as you start walking down the familiar streets, it's very bizarre just being back on this street, walking from the public transport area past the Helm Hotel and down the street towards Veloska's practice / apartment. And as you get closer, you do see, as the artificial lighting begins to fade, neon signs just, and the whole street becomes this just rainbow shotgun blast of light. All different colors and all swimming together in just the classic like glow of Seishin Ward. Is it Seishin Ward? It is Seishin Ward. But you close in on Veloska's practice. You actually see, it looks like there was maybe somebody in there who had just come out and was walking up and away, but they're not. You can, if you want to like eye them to get information, you can.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Sure, go ahead and roll threat assessment.
What stat do you want me to use for it, though?
Use cool or clever, whichever is higher.
Okay. That would cool. It's not bad.
Okay. So as you're approaching from the high street end, as the slope of the station goes down, you see this person walk up and out from the stairwell. It's some vaguely masculine looking person. They have a mohawk, and they're not wearing a shirt over top of they're not wearing a shirt. They have a lot of asymmetrical tattoos littered across their torso and their shoulders and their arms. They have not jeans, not shorts, jorts, with a very wide array and collection of various chains on one side of their like belt and everything, and they have some very glowy sneakers that pick up really well in the neon lighting. And their hands in pockets, kind of skulking away. Not sure what the deal is, but they don't seem to be carrying any sort of weapon. They don't seem to be particularly malicious in their affect. But this is a person who is very much trying to remain incognito. They are coming out of Veloska's, and they do the look left, look right, nobody's there, okay, cool. And they kind of speed walk until they're out on the public street, and then they resume walking speed like, yep, just been here the whole time.
That's us, but that's not important right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll still
You
head
can
over
ask
to
Veloska.
Yeah.
Yeah, you head down there, and there's something different about his door. You can see as you walk down the steps into the little alcove area that has his shop. The door it has a peephole on it now, and you can see it's a very shoddy installation. Like it's functional, and that's about it. It is a functional peephole of some kind with a metal slider.
Interesting. I'll knock.
You knock, and you do the tink tink, and then halfway through pulling your fist back off the second knock, the slider shoom, and you can see behind it the wrinkled eye of Veloska, and he blinks. The slider shoom, and then you hear the latch chain, and then the door just opens up, and you can see Veloska there. He he has a little bit of sweat on his frame. He's not wearing his doctor's coat. He's just wearing a not flannel, plaid patterned shirt, like a brown plaid patterned shirt, and the sleeves are rolled up. He has dark brown pants with his normal shoes and not overalls. What are they called? Suspenders. He has suspenders holding instead of a belt. And he looks his typical tired self. And he opens the door, looks you head to toe, and narrows his eyes for a second. And just goes, "No blood?"
Not currently.
And he narrows his eyes a little more and just looks. He kind of pokes his head out to look down the stairwell, and he looks at you and just whispers, "Are you pregnant?"
He gives a look of really.
He shrugs and just turns around. He's like, "Fine, come in."
I just thought I'd get a checkup. Is that what you're supposed to do?
He turns around, gives you this look of really? But he shrugs and just goes, "Hey, fuck it. Whatever. But lock the door." Waves a hand towards the door. And you turn around and you can see he's got about 5 locks on it.
A new edition?
Yes.
Looks like someone's prepared for some kind of siege.
You can see he sits in his typical chair, and you hear the familiar groan and heave of that little rolly chair. Wheels over to the op desk, and he's flipping around on a little tablet, just yes, I don't like cops, and those keep cops out.
They've been messing with you since.
Shakes his head. Nope, not yet. Better safe than sorry.
Good point.
He grabs a few instruments, and he actually has a small needle, and sets it down, and he just gestures to the table, and he's like, "You want checkup, or are you just wanting? Is it bullshit? I don't know what else you would want."
Oh, checkup's fine.
Okay, and he slaps one firm hand on the desk, and he just goes, "Sit."
She'll do so. Okay. She'll wait till he gets started. Till before she starts. But does he seem tenser than normal? Like, does he seem any more off? I mean, obviously the locks, the people.
So it's not uncommon to see people leaving his practice. The locks are a new addition. You get the feeling that, like, with as big of a pop-off as Hotel Hell was, it probably affected his paranoia. He's an already kind of paranoid person, a la Legacy, but not as high-key paranoid, or high intensity. But the hotel thing, having it be so close to home, he's like he got a little shaken up from that, and he's like, okay, all right, I need a few extra precautions. He is. You also are well aware he is operating on a very dicey legal area. He does have a registered business, and he is operating within the law at least some of the time. So he's on a book. His name is on a list somewhere. And he has to keep that name on a list. Otherwise, if he is operating entirely outside of the law and permit, people will eventually find him. And he does not want that. So he plays by the system's rules enough to throw suspicion off of him. But with things having popped off and having all of the cops and PMCs swarm the area, you're smart enough to know, like, okay, that shook him up a little bit, and now he's probably more paranoid than he needs to be, more nervous than he needs to be, but it's not necessarily unwarranted, because there's some weird shit that's just been going on.
Probably doesn't help that someone who's tied to that is also now at his practice again.
That is what I was going to say next. He has two clientele who used to work for the company that had all that shit pop off, and so he's like, okay, I'm not going to tell them no. I've known these people for too long, and I'm not that kind of guy. So I'm just going to get a gun, and I'm going to get locks, and that's what we're going to do. But it takes maybe 5 minutes, and he's immediately into the flow of things. Like, you pop up on the table, he walks over, he flips to the file he has on you. It is a basically unmarked, except for very specific, like, coded notes that he keeps. And this data pad is not wired to anything. He has a very specific data pad that he keeps for that. And he's just going through his normal, like, routine, grabs that he grabs that needle. You don't know what it's for, but he's used it before. He will sometimes typically inject you with some type of serum that is meant to just alleviate general fatigue and aches. It's somewhere between, like, a light, like, muscle numbing effect and adrenaline, because he assumes that that's why you're there. So he's like, okay, cool, you need a shot of energy and you need to get all your bullet wounds filled. That's the general vibe he has. Or not general vibe, that's the general assumption he has whenever you or some other people show up.
Well, luckily no bullet holes this time, just probably very dark rings under her eyes from lack of sleep, but yeah.
Yeah, and Veloska, you also know he is a very sharp person. He's likely to have noticed that. He might not mention it, but he's likely to have noticed that, and he's like, okay, not bloody, clearly tired, I'll get the adrenaline. This might be a situation where she doesn't need to, or this might be a situation where she needs to be awake for a long period of time, and I've got something for that. Not gonna ask questions.
So
but, yeah, he's like well underway.
Okay. Once, take a few minutes to have him get started, Because, funnily enough, like, he's perceptive, but she's also perceptive, so I feel like they're kind of sizing each other up a little bit. But she, after a little bit, she tries to start small talk. So
I want you to tell me how often, when Lockhart has come, they arrange or they have a very brief exchange of small talk.
Lockhart is definitely not the person to ask deeper questions. Mm-hmm. Small talk, very brief small talk. But I actually have particular words in mind to kind of ease the conversation, rather than just being like, "Oh yeah, this is why I'm here," essentially.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
How do you start? Because he's just in the kind of doctoral flow state.
Yeah, that was the point. So, how have things been here in Station Ward? I haven't been paying much attention to the news, to be quite honest.
You just loud sniff, flips around on the data pad, just... things have been uncharacteristically quiet since the event a few weeks ago. Not that I'm complaining.
He went to help with the medical relief, right?
Yes, he went to lend aid.
Not too many injured from the hotel, then.
Well, not as many as I would have expected, so no, technically not. The bigger part of it was the debris falling from the building. That ended up impacting another couple structures behind the hotel, led to a whole mess of issues. But that is over with now. At least in the immediate, for the time being.
Well, I'm glad things seem to be back to normal.
He doesn't stop, but he slows down and then, gives you a look. And roll me a cool, and you roll me another. I'll let you use threat assessment for this, as cool as well.
I'm gonna boost this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that. So he's not looking at you with any intent to harm, but there is a very palpable, what is this kind of vibe?
Yeah.
But you can see in his face, he doesn't say anything, and after a half second, it disappears and he moves on.
So, She looks around at the equipment and stuff, and she says, "So I've wondered, how did you end up in this particular practice?"
He wipes his nose. He's been sniffing a lot. You've noticed that's kind of a habit he has whenever he's in thought. You didn't really hear it a lot the last time you were here because he wasn't in the room for a good chunk of time. But he just unconsciously is just... I came about this place after a stint. Just after a stint in jail. I have a cousin who knows someone who knows someone. This entire flat was just an apartment. And he lived here. After he moved out, it was repossessed and then condemned. And he gestures to like the vague disarray and just goes, never got fixed. So I took out a loan and bought it. Not a small loan. He doesn't say that pointedly at you. He says that like, oh, fucking God.
Well, I was more saying that you're a pretty good doctor. I figured you'd be somewhere a bit nicer.
Shakes his head, just goes, no, I don't want to be far away from, I guess you could call them my people, in a very strange way. Not good enough to be in the upper echelons of doctor society or whatever the fuck it is, but yes, I wouldn't want to be there anyway. I want to be here. Closer to people. Just closer to people. And he's like flipping through another part of his data sheet, like stops, then turns to look at you, reaches up with one of his big middle finger sausages, or big sausage fingers, and he pushes up his glasses with his middle finger, and he just looks at you and goes, what do you ask? You seem more talkative than normal.
I've been surrounded by a lot of people lately. They're rubbing off on me a bit.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, am I. So your intent was to always... You didn't have higher goals then?
He has now some type of like ocular tool in his hand, and he is moving like to inspect your eye and iris area, and he just like shining a light on it, magnifying it, not really getting close to your eye, just doing like a general check. And he as he is examining you, just goes, aspirations are for people who can afford to pay for them. He shrugs. I can't. I'm still in debt. So, I'll do what I can here.
Fair point.
Besides, you can still do a lot of complex operations with kitchen knives. He gestures to his table. There are scalpels there, but
yeah,
there are a couple that look pretty close to kitchen knives.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're resourceful enough.
That is what I was learned on. You tend to get very good at being resourceful in prison. When he is, like, as he is examining your eye, he gets, like, he's a lot closer to you, and you can smell that, like, chemical, cleansing sort of odor from him, just like the typical doctoral thing. But there's also, like, a strong, like, almost like a woody kind of aromatic warm smell to it, or as well. And it takes you a second to kind of place it, but you're pretty sure that's like cigar, like a cigar smell, just kind of wafting off of the edge of his collar.
Do I know Veloska to smoke?
You've never seen him do it, but
like the scent of cigar is very distinct.
this is something that you haven't noticed before. If it's something he's been doing, he's been able to hide the smell very well.
Hmm.
He's like, while you are letting him examine you, he's kind of just very efficiently, not angrily or in like a rough sense, very much just handling your face. Like, grabs you with his thumb, forefinger, middle finger, and like grabs you by the chin and turns your head to the right. Like places two of his fingers against your throat, places them on a different spot on your throat, grabs your chin, moves it to the other way, like just maneuvering you. And you can tell, like, there are spots where he touches, and like you just have a gut instinct of like, don't let him touch that, don't let him go here. It's like tingling in the back of your mind, because you just have the instinct of like, he's touching areas that are very close to vitals, and I am getting squirrely.
She does her best to stay still and let him do his work, but the I guess not anxiety, but that's the best word I can think of. The anxiety is evident in her posture a bit.
Yeah, and like after a second of that, Veloska, like he's got a finger, two fingers pressed to the underside of your like back jaw, and kind of pressed in that little nook of your throat. And he looks at a paper and he just goes, "Stop twitching. You're so twitchy."
Also have it.
If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't be this close to you. That would be a mistake on my part.
If you wanted to kill me, I wouldn't let you this close to me.
Kind of does like the placative frown, just nods like, good point. How is Johan healing, by the way? He has not come back. Not that I ever expected him to come back, but...
So at him bringing up Johan, she frowns very slightly, but she has a weird aura about her, is the best way to put it. Just that, like, fuck. He seems to be doing well. He seems fully healed up, as far as I know.
Nods, just continuing to move, just like, That is about what I would expect.
How did you come to know Johan anyways?
He turns back to his pad, writes something, grabs a different set of tools. He has it, like, he grabs in one hand like the little, some type of measurement device that he would like typically press to your, like, your knee or your elbow. And then he also has in his offhand the syringe. And unless you tell him no, he's going to hit you with adrenaline. But he's like, kind of looking close, and he says, "You're much chattier than you normally are. And why are you staying up so late? It's not good for your health."
I've done plenty of things that's not good for my health.
"I know. You and Johan both. And probably your friends too, although they've not come back. I expected them to pop back in some point in the future with holes in them that shouldn't be there, or limbs that are missing, some other shit."
At least we know we can rely on you.
But as for Johan, turns back to his pad. I've known him for a while. He came in many years ago on some accident of some kind, another lab incident. It is routine for him to show up maybe once a year or more. Depends on if he's had a breakthrough. He says that part with quotation marks.
She gives a slight laugh and smile at that. So you knew him when he was still working for Tetsuo, then?
Nods, and then turns back to the data pad, writes something, and he turns to you, like he has the shot in like a ready position, and then stops and just looks and just goes, "Do you need this? I don't think you're an addict," but shrugs.
Little adrenaline never hurt anyone. She
Nods.
puts her arm out, I guess. Question mark.
Yeah, like the fatigue that you would be normally affected by, the sort of like sit on the couch tiredness when you blink really slow, you feel it now, and then just a little prick inside of your arm, and then he doesn't really bother with any sort of formality about it. He just like very quickly takes a disinfectant wipe from a little like plastic bag, grabs it, wipes your arm, sticks it and then pulls the adrenaline needle out, and then takes it, sets it back on the table, and he just goes, "That will kick in about 2 minutes. Probably. Maybe less. Depends. Flex your arm." And just kind of like, he reaches down and balls your hands into a fist.
She does that in like fist release kind of thing.
Yeah, the second you start to flex, you feel this cooling and warming sensation. It's almost like an icy hot like wave that echoes out from where that shot hit, and it is like you feel that surge of energy hit you. It is like a tidal wave of caffeine energy that just overtakes your entire body, and you immediately like perk up and you're like, "Oh, okay, cool." And you feel like you could fight probably 7 or 8 people right now and not break a sweat. Like all of the energy and fatigue has come back to you, and all the fatigue has left you. But it's not like a hyperness. It is a readiness.
Oh, that feels much better.
He nods and just goes, "That's what they always tell me." But yes, I knew Johan when he was in Tetsuo, and I've known him ever since. Why do you ask?
Because I'm trying to fill in some gaps.
He slowly turns and looks at you with curious eyes and just goes, "What does that mean?" You're not doing private investigative work now, are you? Is that a new shtick?
No, not normally, but when it involves Johann, I'm concerned about his well-being.
Raises an eyebrow, but nods. Well, I am not technically an official doctor so much as I am a private business owner. So, doctor-patient confidentiality does not exist for me. That doesn't mean I'm going to tell you everything I know. But it means I could if I wanted to.
Do you want to?
He, grabs another tool and reels back a little bit and places one, soft pressure tool to your knee and another on the other side of the same knee. And just goes, I don't know. I've known you for a while. I don't know what created this urgency. All I know is that lately there's been a lot of bullshit happening too close to me. So what do you want to know? But more importantly, why?
You actually want me to tell you why?
He leans back, takes his tools, sets them on the little table beside the one you're on, and then sits up in his chair, kind of like he's taller than you.
Yeah.
And broader, he's just a wide and big person. But he looks at you, reaches up, takes his glasses and between his finger and thumb and just goes, if you lie to me, I will know. I work in this business long enough so I can smell liars from a mile away. I don't think you want to lie to me. And I don't think you could if you wanted to. So tell me, do I want to know? But better, do I need to know? He's staring really, really hard directly at you.
He meets his gaze. And she holds his gaze, essentially. You're the one that's always talking about need to know, about wanting to stay out of it. Things were bad, but it's definitely going to get worse.
He there's his eyes. He doesn't blink, but his eyes break contact with yours, and he is now searching your expression, trying to figure out what the implied meaning is behind your words. And he says, things are going to get worse. Who are they going to get worse for? Just Johann? Or you and Johann?
Likely both.
Is it going to affect more than just the two of you?
There's a very high chance that happened, yes.
He reaches up and puts his glasses back on and puts his hands in a steeple position and runs them through his hair and leans back on his leans forward, puts his his elbows on his knees and just goes, okay. He sits up, puts one hand on the edge of the table, and takes his other hand and pushes his glasses up, rubs his eyes really, really hard. And this is the gesture of someone who's like weighing the pros and cons of I don't know if I should get involved, but I don't know if I have a choice. Or if I am involved or am going to be involved in some way, or going to be affected in some way. And go ahead.
The group, the others and I are trying to prevent it from affecting more than just us. If that helps any.
And as I can't remember what we established, but how long have you had a working relationship with Voloska?
I assume basically since she became a mercenary. I don't think she really knew him from Tetsuo.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been at least a year or two, or like a handful of years.
Yeah. Hang on. We can get exact dates here. Because I pinned it, because I'm smart.
I'm glad you did it.
She's been a mercenary since she's about 25.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
And yeah, she's in her late 20s. So same age as Kaya.
So he looks at you, and you can see that he is very much staring into you, going through his mind and his memories of you, going through every interaction that you've had with him. And he is a sharp person. He is very, very in the know of a lot of what goes on in his own life. And he looks like he meets your eyes again and says, "Okay, I'm going to tell you something. And I want you to tell me whether or not I should be concerned. And if I am to be concerned, then fill me in." And he sits back, grabs the little data slate off of the tray, and looks at it and starts flipping through it. And about 2 minutes goes by of silence. And then he pauses and adjusts his seat, kind of spreads his legs out a little wider, adjusts where he's sitting, rocks back and forth a bit, and I have Johann's file. Multiple I've kept over the years. I notice a lot of things. I see the insides of people. I know what they're going through, at least in some way. And he turns the data sheet towards you, and it doesn't show anything. It is his notes, and he points to it for emphasis, and he says, "There is something going on with this man that doesn't make any sense to me. I've seen a lot of weird shit, and I don't ask a lot of questions because it doesn't involve me. But this is the weirdest by far." He turns around, almost halfway reason to bite his tongue and shakes his head and just goes, "The last I saw of him a couple of years ago, he still worked at Tetsuo. I had regularly seen him, but this most recent time, not an unusual state I've seen him in. Roughed up, coming off of some accident, covered in his blood or whatever. But his body was different. Not different in the way you might expect. There is a natural progression you see, or I see, in most patients that I have that visit every so often. And his most recent visit breaks this pattern. And he shrugs. I tell you, because you know him, and you know me, and I know you. No one else knows him. Most people can't stand him, but apparently he found some circle of friends recently. God knows how. But I don't know them. So, I know there's some weirdness going on with his body. And you come to me to ask about his past, to ask me how I know him. Now tell me, do I need to know?
So clarifying here,
Mm-hmm.
basically he didn't have notes on like what was going on with Johan then?
He noticed a discrepancy between between the Johan that worked at Tetsuo and the Johan who did not work at Tetsuo any longer.
Ah, okay.
And he's like, I didn't have anyone to tell. I'm not gonna fucking stick my nose in it. But if you're asking about it, then it's already gotten back to me. So, do I need to know?
He listens intently and takes a very long moment to process what he said. Before I answer your question, would
Mm-hmm.
dang it, I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you could provide with knowing this information, but I do think it is a very fair warning. I think it is fair for you to know. Could I have potentially taken some photos on my phone of the hex document?
Oh, yeah.
I'll hand him my phone.
I assume, or like, you mean like a translated,
Yeah.
and what was like decoded
Yeah,
and okay.
Yeah.
So you hand him the phone, and he holds it, like he'll take it from you, still looking at you, or still looking in your eyes, doesn't look at the documents yet, and then his eyes, like, he doesn't move, his eyes just dart to the document, and you can see his thumb kick the document up, and he starts to read it, and he reads quite fast, and you see this like growing unsettled like queasiness in his demeanor. It's very subtle, but you can tell that he is reading this, and there is like a knot forming in his stomach, and he stops about halfway through his quick skim of the document, and he stops and says, "Okay." And he leans back and flips through his own tablet, puts his glasses back on, pushes them up his nose a little bit. Bengetti here. So, came in 10 years ago. That was his first visit. Saw him twice that year, twice the next year, once the next year. Pretty routine. Usually about 4-month intervals. Maybe half a year before he visits again. And he scrolls up a little bit and stops. After he quit Tetsuo, or was fired, or whatever, he did not show up for a while. A bit unusual, but I figured his accidents were more than likely tied to his time there. Until he came up most recently. His memory problems. They are more extensive than I can adequately convey. But more unnerving than that. He reaches over and takes. He sets the data pad down and then grabs a little like. It's shaped like a disc on the end. Like it's shaped like a pizza cutter, but it's not a bladed thing. It's almost like it's holding a petri dish.
Mm-hmm.
And he holds it out. You've seen him use this thing before. He typically has someone. He typically puts a blood sample in it or a tissue sample of some kind. It is basically like a deconstructing tool that is more or less, for lack of a better term, kind of carbon dating the material that is in it. And he said, took some of the, damaged tissue off of him from the wreck, tossed it in here, wanting to assess how many possible things could have gone wrong. His overall physiology has regressed 5 years. I have run these numbers 5 times. This tool has never been that off before. After treating him, and after testing it 5 times on those results, I tried to break it to see if I could make it give me wrong numbers. Because it must be. But I couldn't break it in a way that mimicked this. And he points to the data slate that's just sitting on the tray. The man has lost 5 years of time, but not in the way that makes sense. Not in the way where you age 5 years, but you regress 5 years. He shrugs. I have no way to prove this. And he shakes the tool. But this tool has never failed me before. And it has yet to fail since. At least in a way that makes a repeatable error. So either this tool is specifically broken when used on his tissue, or the man has figured out how to make himself younger, and in a not small amount of time. And he sets the tool on the tray and crosses his fingers together and leans on his knees. So now I'm involved. And
Sorry,
now I
could you
don't
repeat
know
that?
what is. He like leans his elbows on his knees and like puts his hands together and leans forward and looking at you now says, and now I'm involved. And I don't know what the fuck to do.
Haven't even got to the part with this more.
His eyebrows go up. Good. Why wouldn't there be more? Why couldn't it just be faulty equipment and a casual interest in someone's life? Has to be some fucking mystic cult shit or something.
Not too far off, I think.
He sits up, gets off his chair, walks over to the cabinet that you are familiar with. That is his Red Bull cabinet.
Mhm.
And opens it up. And he grabs a can and then turns around, looks at you, and then gestures to a can like, do you want one?
Sure.
And reaches back, grabs another one, and walks over, sets the 2 cans down, reaches into his pocket, and you, like the shirt pocket, and out of his shirt pocket, he withdraws a little ream, like a little plastic and container with a metal clasp around it. And he clicks it open, and inside there is a cigar. In fact, there's 3 cigars, one of which is partially smoked.
Picking up a new hobby.
He shrugs, just goes, "My father does it. My brother did it. I didn't think I would do it." And he shrugs, takes one out and clips it, puts it in his pocket. But I also didn't think that people could age backwards. And he shrugs and lights up the cigar and just puffs on it.
I am still trying to figure out we are still trying to figure out the exact details, but Joseph Diego wants you home.
Well, that is definitely concerning.
The the thing that caused this accident, not the hotel, but the race, the Dreamer, is apparently going to consume the station at some point.
He leans back a little bit, just trying to gauge the credibility of what you're saying, and just nods.
Lockhart's jokes are always, the sarcastic nature, and like they're not great jokes.
Yeah.
And Lockhart's not the type of person to bullshit like this.
Yeah, and he is quickly becoming aware of that and is like, okay. I remember him talking about some kind of algorithm to